Hello. So, today in Berlin was round 2, and of course I will explain games, but Hikaru won today. Okay, we will see. I didn't see any games yet, but now I want to remember a great books behind me. It's chess encyclopedies and some informant and also course of opening drafts by Alexander Gentmansky. Many other books. Okay. So, I want to tell a story about very famous and really great drafts player, Ton Seinsbrands. So once he explained that very special beauty of drafts, it's that you never can stop analyze. And for example, I'm explaining you something, I show variation, trying to evaluate positions. Okay, I'm trying to do all my best what I can, but of course it's not something very stable. It's not something that not possible refute or not possible to have doubts. And first of all, I want to demonstrate one example. So after showing some ideas, I'm usually checking my variation sometimes with pieces, sometimes during my walk, and sometimes I can find that I was wrong, and okay, I can show you one example. So yesterday was game between Waitashik and Rapport. D5, bishop G2, d takes C4, queen C2, C5, A3, bishop takes D2, knight takes C4, queen D3, castle, castle. So it was this position. And in this position, my recommendation was to play B6 instead of rook A6, what Rapport played. And yes, B6 is a very logical move, that's right, but objectively it's not so good. So what was my explanation yesterday? So I explained it that after knight takes d4, queen takes d4, queen takes d4, knight takes d4, bishop takes g2, bishop a6, knight takes b6, for example, rook b8, rook d1, knight takes e2, king g2. And firstly, I was thinking that white is better, but somebody of my spectators proposed h6, and after rook d6, knight e8, and I agreed that black is okay here, because after rook c6, black has takes, and bishop b7. But only today I realized that this line is not correct, because rook d2 is possible here instead of rook c6. It's possible rook d2 instead rook d6, and after rook takes b6, bishop f3, black is losing his knight, and okay, so white should win this position. Another line which I evaluated like good for white was after b6, rook fd1, bishop a6, knight d4. So I told that knight e5 is interesting in this position, but actually knight e5 probably it's mistake, because knight takes e6. These complications are in favor of white. But okay, rook fd1, this is probably not so strong, because queen takes d4 is possible now, and this rook b8 is possible, or even rook d8, and black has contraplay in endgame. But first line with knight takes d4 works well, and so b6 is interesting idea. After rook d6, yes, rook d2. So okay, so this is bad for bad line for black, because after h6 white can play rook d6, but also rook d2 is possible if rook takes b6, bishop f3. But rook d6 is stronger because knight on e8 is worse than on f6. Okay, so did you like knight h5? In which moment knight h5? Probably I like, but I'm not sure. So today was it Aronian? Dubov Aronian. Here knight h5. But this is not idea of Aronian. This Karyakin played against Prag Ananda in Vaikanzaya. So d takes c5 was played, knight takes f4, e takes f4, d6, g6 with good compensation. So it is not idea of Aronian at all. Okay, yes, knight h5 also. Many games with knight queen b6 here, many games with bishop g4 here, or cd, ed, queen b6, knight b3 as well. So black has a big choice. Okay, let's start to see. Knight h5, bishop e5, played Dubov, very natural. e6. So now if white plays c3, it's very similar to Slav defense. I mean, this line d4, d5, c4, c6, knight f3, knight f6, knight e3, bishop f5, knight c3, e6, knight is this. So only difference that if compare black knight should be on d7 already, because white knight on d2. So if imagine that knight on d7, not on b8, so we will have the same position. But this is not enough for Dubov. So, of course, Dubov understands that c3 leads to Slav defense with extra tempo, but he decided to play more sharp, c4. C takes d4, natural and principal reaction. More or less forced, so this knight f6. Black has two bishops advantage, but white has slightly better development. Okay, so it doesn't look like something really dangerous for black, because black has no any weaknesses at the moment. So castle, bishop e7, queen b3. Of course, white can play bishop b5 somewhere, but Dubov not playing this. Rook ac1, small trick. Idea that after bishop takes d4, of course, white will not take with pawn, but knight f3 was prepared with idea to take with knight or with rook, and do not have isolated pawn. So queen e7, knight f3, b6, bishop b5. Bishop b7, bishop c6. So white didn't reach any advantage from the opening. So bishop c6 is white's wise strategy. So white wants to exchange bishops and equalize the games. Rook c8. Well, of course, in such level, not possible that something like this happen. It's too primitive, even in blitz. So rook c8, idea to defend bishop. Only question, what is rook takes c5 now? I'm trying to understand. Maybe this is wrong, because b takes c5. So if queen takes b7, black has rook c7. If bishop takes b7, problem for white is not rook c7 because knight c6, but c4. It's big problem, and only square b5 for the queen to protect bishop. But after queen b5, now black has rook b8, and after knight c6, queen is not protected anymore. So after queen takes b7, black has exchange up without sufficient compensation. It remember a little bit very cheap trap in Queen's Gambit Accepted. Of course, many of spectators knows this, but okay, maybe somebody don't know, so I will show this position. Rook b8 instead of c4, knight c6 was possible, and after queen takes b7, knight takes b8. So c4 was important. And this is, okay, I mean, I will show on the board if somebody. So if immediately rook b8, knight c6, queen takes b7, knight takes b8. Okay, it's queen takes b3, rook b8, it's probably drawish, but after c4, black is playing for the win. Okay. But which trap I wanted to show, I will explain now. So in this position there are two main moves, knight f3 or knight e2. Knight f3 more popular, but Sergei Volkov, good theoretical player, prefers knight e2 here. But the trap is if queen b3, castle, bishop takes b7, blunder because c4, queen b5, a6, queen d5, bishop b4 check, and black wins because after this queen d3 mate. Okay, it's very, very primitive, but maybe somebody doesn't know this trap. So rook takes c5 doesn't work, so of course both players calculated this line. It is not so difficult. So now came variation now. Here also the d5 because knight loses immediately. 5, a takes b5, knight takes f6, queen takes f6, and black wins. Bishop f6, bishop b4, queen d2, takes, g takes f6. Black is piece up. It's very old game. Roin Pfein lost against Mikhail Yudovich in one of Soviet tournaments. So queen a4 here is the best line. But for example, bishop d7, c takes d5, this is modern theory. According to modern theory, black is fine here. And bishop g5 is not popular line at all. So if white, of course, okay, about Rapport, probably I will analyze all of games to date. So just to be sure that I will not miss game of Rapport today. I just want to explain that if white not playing c takes d5, bishop g5 it's not so good. So alternatives are e3, it's possible here, or bishop f4 is possible. If bishop f4 possible, this knight c6, knight db5, e5, this line. this position can appear from another move order from English opening. I mean, c4, c5, knight f3, knight f6, knight c3, knight c6, d4 takes, e6, bishop, knight db5, d5, bishop f4, e5, c takes d5, takes f4. Yes. Okay, so I just explained a little bit about theory of this variation. So c takes d5 is the most popular variation, c takes d4. Another options are knight takes d5, e4, this, bishop b4, bishop d2 takes castle, semi-Tarrasch, or even e takes d5 is possible. Magnus played e takes d5 idea. If g3, it's classical Tarrasch. If bishop g5, bishop e6, Magnus played with idea. If e3 to play c4 to prepare bishop b4. Okay, so c takes d4, queen takes d4. Another popular line is knight takes d4, and after knight takes d5, bishop d2. Many games was played. Queen takes d4, e takes d5, e4, d takes e4. Another popular line is knight c6, bishop b5, and now d takes e4, but not bishop d7, because after bishop d7 takes, castle, white is much better according to famous game Pulugayevsky against Keres. So this bishop g5, knight c6. Knight c6 played. We did Duda against Mamedyarov played h6 here. It's another popular line. Bishop f6, g takes f6. Something like this. Knight takes c4. And h5 played Duda. Main move bishop g7 was Duda played h5. Well, so knight c6, bishop c4. Okay, I don't know what exactly is theory here. After knight c6, white has alternative. Castle looks very logical. And to see where king will go, then white can take on f6 and take on e4, or play something else like bishop c4. Okay, but surely Vidit should prepare something after bishop c4 as well. After castle as well. So bishop c4, king e7, knight takes e4, king f7, castle, rook d8. Optically looks that white is slightly better, but probably not so easy to create serious threats. Rook d1, very natural. Rook d7, f5, knight d6. Knight c5 also possible to consider, but probably after knight c5 also king f6 is possible. The same idea, to give the pawn and try to make draw in this position. So white is pawn up, but opposite bishops gives good draw chances for black, especially if exchange rooks. For example, g3, f3 looks like very natural move here. I don't know why we did not play this. Okay, probably rook c8 is possible idea. Bishop is although not sure, because rook takes h7 now. And if bishop e3 check, king c2, maybe then this is possible. But not sure that this is okay. Maybe this is draw as well. But my general idea, okay, maybe start with bishop b6, and if, for example, king c2, rooks. Oh, okay, but now after bishop b6, b3, probably more precise. So my idea was something like this. If king d1, rook c8, attack bishop, and then rook c7 to force exchange of rook. But maybe white can try to avoid this. But objectively, due to bishop, thanks to opposite color bishops, black has excellent chances for draw. Of course, this requires accurate play from black. So rook c7 played. So he gave pawn back, I don't know. So f3 seems me like more logical attempt here. Rook c7, bishop f2. So now same number of pawns. So looks like drawish. Rook b8. Rook b8. So if white not taking on e6, black prepared to take on b4, and also rook b6 is prepared. So white took b5. Rook c8 was threat. So white need to react. Bishop b6. So black is pawn down, but it is obviously draw because fortress on the board. Okay, so this game looks like very good preparation of Vidit. So Gamer tried to do something. Okay, but for me rook c7 it's a little bit strange. So f3 looks better, but I think Vidit analyzed f3 as well. Share of Dominguez I didn't consider yet. I will come back to it later. So Nakamura Yesipenko. Nakamura Yesipenko. G3, D5. Knight, bishop c5. Knight b6 is more popular line, but bishop c5 is quite modern attempt. So castle, castle, queen c2. Okay, d3 I have seen here. So queen c2, it's I don't know, is it novelty or it was played? So logical move, of course, because white has threat. Knight takes d5, queen takes d5, knight g5. So black needs to react somehow. So bishop simply to play bishop b6, it's not possible at the moment because takes knight g5, and after e4, knight takes e4, and white is just pawn up. So knight f6 defended Yesipenko, and a3 simply. Black has choice. Knight d4 played Yesipenko. Of course, it's not necessary. a5 looks like logical move here to prevent b4, and d3 to play h6 to prevent bishop g5. So it looks like logical alternative. So knight d4 played Yesipenko. If Nakamura can be one of the best in classical, yes, why not? It's totally possible. Bishop b6. Another typical idea is to play d3 and then bishop d4 after taking, immediately after exchange queens, but okay. I'm not sure that this compensation is totally enough for black, for example. After this, bishop b2, c6, knight e4. So it's necessary to check. Bishop b6, knight a4, so e3, d3, queen c3. Same idea from me in Spanish. What do you mean? In which line of Spanish? Bishop a2, b3, rook b8. So this is b3 in Spanish. Gata Kamsky played against Anand in his match. So it was black knight on a5, pawn on b4. In some moment he played b3, but I don't remember myself playing b3. Okay. So queen c3, plan of white is obvious, to play bishop b2 and create strong pressure on diagonal a1 h8. So knight e4, queen c4. What I love most apart from chess? Probably foreign language, probably nice nature between us, and many beautiful things. Queen c4. So white doesn't want to give his bishop g2 yet, so queen c4 attacking the knight, and due to pin, black cannot defend with f5, so bishop f5, bishop b2. So pawn d2 is defended and indirectly by very simple reason. Why? Okay, probably. Okay, so after knight a4, black has no choice. Only d3 it's possible, but d3 it's pawn. White is pawn up. Okay, it's double pawn, but it's not obvious that compensation after d3, it takes d3, bishop d4, bishop b2 is enough, because white wants knight c5 somewhere, something like this. So here black has no choice. So probably if black wants to avoid what happened in the game, so main alternatives was here instead of knight d4. Bishop e7. Bishop e7. Yes, it's possible, but probably Yesipenko decided that bishop on b6 is more active. Okay, after bishop e7, white has choice between knight e4 or knight a4. I don't know what is better here. Both are interesting. For example, this. And then bishop b2 is planning. Knight c5 somewhere. If a5, b5. So it looks like quite promising position for white anyway. But after bishop b6, so more or less forced. Okay, d3, I don't know if this is forcing move, but white is prepared for bishop b2. For example, if c6, bishop b2, and anyway, black needs to do something with his pawn. D takes e3. Looks very dubious, so d3, queen c3. Bishop b2 looks promising for white, queen d7. And now bishop takes e4. This decision is far from standard, so very tempting looks to play f3 here, for example, because knight takes d2 obviously impossible, queen c3. So what was problem of Nakamura? Probably he was afraid that black will utilize c4 square for his knight, so I mean b5 immediately. And after queen c1, queen d4 not possible, because after taking, black can take on d2. So queen c1, knight d6. So this was the reason. Bishop takes e4. And now bishop c4, it's positional threat. So bishop takes e4. Again, opposite bishop, but this is not the same story like in the game Kramer against Vidit, because there are queens and many other pieces on the board, and I can try to organize attack. f3, bishop c6, rook c1. Okay, so white is obviously better because clone basket. Okay. Because pawn d3 it's weak, and pawn c7 is weak, and also white can try to organize attack in king's slant future. So rook e7. Black defended against b5. b5, bishop takes b5, queen takes c7 was positional threat in some variation. Queen f4, f6, rook c4. White plan is simple. Rook fc1 and threat with b5. Rook d8, rook f c1, queen e6. Also rook d4 was threat. So if b5, rook d4, and then rook takes d3. Okay, maybe bishop b5 was attempt for black. And now rook d4, it's the most natural move, and now to play queen e8, something like this. Yes, but anyway, this position looks like better for white. They can prepare plan g4, h4, g5, something, king f2. So white bishop seems me much more active than black one. So rook d8, b5, and rook e4. So rook takes c7, it's also possible. So probably Yesipenko calculated rook takes c7, but rook e4. So this move, this kind of moves like rook e4, it's very easy to meet in calculations. So now looks very bad for black. Bishop takes f6, queen g4. So what is this? I'm trying to understand. Okay, so if king h8, queen b4 is prepared. It's easy. So immediately queen b4 was not possible because queen takes b4, rook takes d8, queen f8. But if king on h8, queen b4 is winning move, because now queen takes b4, rook takes d8, black is just losing, so only move queen d7 or queen e8, white taking on d8, taking on b5, and this queen's endgame looks like totally winning for white. So king f7 is not optional, because rook takes d8 and queen h5 check, or queen h5 check immediately. So king f8 only move, but so this so nice tactical trick from Nakamura, and black took pawn on a3. There is threat queen c1 check, but white on the move, king f2, and now we can see that white can easily defend pawn d2, and all black pawns are very weak. So very bad queen's endgame for black. Queen c5, he play, okay, maybe queen a2 was possible, and after queen takes d3, b5 now, but anyway, white should win, because even b4 is not threat. After b4, white has idea queen d6 check and take on b4, so g4 is possible, for example. Queen c5, queen d3, b5, so Yesipenko is looking for contraplay with b pawn, but Nakamura, it's accurate. So white king came to queen's flank, and black b pawn is not dangerous anymore. Black can never go to pawns endgame, of course. So positions losing for black and winning for white. h6 resign. Okay, so king h8, queen b4, queen takes a3. Queen takes e3. Wow. They didn't see this. Okay, first of all, king h8. Maybe. So queen b4 is forced. So queen b4, queen takes e3. Takes, rook takes c8. So if queen takes b5, black has d2 immediately, and even wins probably. Or maybe white has draw by perpetual check. So what else? King f2 probably is possible. If rook c2 check, king e1. And black. If rook d8, queen e7 is possible. So It looks like white is winning anyway because of very bad position of king on h8. So after rook c2, king e1, black has no time to create threats because queen f8 mate is threat. Because since okay, if I feel better, I'm not playing during last time, so when I will start to play, I will explain what I am feeling. Now I can only make some fantasies about it. So Waitashik against Oparin. Knight f3, d5. Okay, another popular line is hedgehog system, of course. This is different story. So d5, this, bishop g2, c takes d4. Tarrasch defense, old line is bishop e7, castle, castle. And now white has many moves. b3, bishop g5, d takes c5, and a3, for example, also possible. This is quite popular old line. C takes d4 is Dubov's innovation in Tarrasch defense, and a main idea of black, according to my understanding, is if knight takes d5, bishop e6. Knight takes b6, queen takes d1, check, and white is losing possibility of castle. If e4, bishop g4 gives black strong contraplay, because after knight f6, queen f6 not possible to take bishop because queen takes f2. If bishop f3, black has idea take, knight e5, and this type of contraplay it's enough for a sacrificated pawn. For example, queen e4, castle, rook e8, something like this. So this is idea. And there is a lot of theory after castle, d4, knight a4, castle. For example, in Vacanzeia, it was game Karyakin Dubov, very short draw. I mean short, okay, so they just made theoretical moves. Yeah, okay, so it's important to analyze, try to penetrate into position, check many games of strong players if there are, of course. But knight a4 immediately played, it's Waitashik, right? Waitashik played knight a4 immediately, also reasonable move. Castle. Another possibility is bishop c7, not allowed to exchange bishop. Castle played. Oparin takes. And now if castle, black can play again d4, and game will transfer it to the Karyakin Dubov and many other games. So bishop e3. This was idea of Waitashik to prevent d4. h5. Very concrete reaction. So black is looking for contraplay, because if black will not play actively, white has a lot of positional traps. So Waitashik just ignored black's threat with castle. Of course, he could consider alternative. So, logical alternatives looks like h3 or h4 here. With the same idea, not allow h4. If now h4, g4 is idea. But okay, so castle h4 and now again, so g takes h4, he took. Totally possible was played something like h3 to prepare rook c1, if h3, bishop h1, and try to play against weak pawns. So it's strange that in previous game against Fedoseev, Oparin had more or less same structure and suffered a lot. Now he repeated, but today he didn't lost. So g takes h4, very principal choice. It remember me one of game between Korchnoi and Kasparov. So Kasparov played h5, h4, and Korchnoi had bishop on e1, and suddenly he took on h4, g takes h4, and idea was to play next move f3 and protect firmly this pawn. So it was... this game was played in my eyes, and I remember that Kasparov was very surprised with g takes h4 and immediately offered a draw, and Korchnoi didn't react, just made move, and Kasparov asked him, Viktor Lvovich, why you don't answer anything? Are you disagree with draw? Korchnoi answered, no, I agree to draw, but you don't answer me. So they agreed to draw, but Kasparov commented after Korchnoi agreed to draw that he himself would prefer to play with white. So that was such a funny story. If I'm following the tennis, okay. During last time, no. Before, okay. Many years ago, I have seen some matches between Monica Seles and Steffi Graf, between Ivan Lendl and Patrick Cash, between who else? Nadal and Djokovic, Nadal and Federer. Okay, but I know that now we have some new games, new names in big tennis, but during last time I didn't follow this. So g takes h4, Korchnoi style. f3, queen d2, rook f e1, h5. 6. So black is trying to organize contraplay. I am not sure that the previous move are totally forced, but now black is prepared for knight f4. And, okay, so we can check so after bishop g4 if it was really necessary. Okay, f3 it's not forced move. So rook e1 is possible to consider to prepare knight d4 and take with queen if black will take. So it's nothing forcing. Queen d2, maybe bishop f2 immediately it's possible. So if knight h5 is 3, okay, but position is complicated. Black has some compensation. Also queen d2, okay, queen f6, so knight f4 is threat. So knight takes d4, g takes. Knight f4 is threat, so rook takes e8 is forced. Rook e2, so white has a bishop pair, but black pieces are very active, and it looks probably it's enough for draw. At the moment, white has 2 pawns up, but structure it's not so promising. But anyways, it looks like white still have some chances to win. So what? Rook d1, knight f4. King f1. Why king f1? Why not immediately bishop e5, for example? Maybe it was possible. still, I don't think that so easy for black it's to make draw here. And white is playing without any risks. King f1 he played, probably not the best. Bishop e5, but now king g2. Now probably this trick Waitashik missed. Because now white cannot take to d5 because an obvious reason, and so probably it was blunder of Waitashik. Takes h4, but anyway he is pawn up, so he has some winning chances. Rook takes d5 also he played. Maybe it was possible to play something else like a4 for example. Rook b3 also possible. So okay, maybe black can survive in this position, but I have not feeling that this is already drawish. Still white has chances, but move c33, probably Waitashik was in time trouble. King g6. So black has ideas. Perpetual check. Bishop c3 where? He played bishop c3, but probably you mean okay, engine. Okay, maybe. Mates, you mean immediately bishop c3? Okay, very possible. It's very likely that this is serious advantage. And if king g6 to do something else, not rook takes d5. So if king g6, because if rook takes d5, knight takes f3, it will be same position. So what is your proposition? A4. Okay, maybe. Yeah, so of course it looks like chances, but okay, after a4, knight f5, for example, how white can win this? Okay, rook d2 is possible, so okay, it's not winning, but still winning chances, right? Rook d5, rook f6, knight e4, king g6, and suddenly white cannot defend his queen's flank. Draw, so Oparin repeated his dubious strategy, but this time he was more lucky than against Fedoseev. Hi. The Rapport Fedoseev, we will see, is it last game for, also Shirov Dominguez. And also Hare Krishna So. Okay, so Hare Krishna So. Berlin. A4, favorite line of Kirill Shevchenko, as I know. Bishop e7, knight c3, a6. According to my knowledge, castle is main line. A Dubov game, Dubov, yes, I analyzed it, yes, against Aronyan. He didn't achieve any advantage from the opening, and it was quite easy draw. A6 played, so castle is possible. But if castle, knight d5 is idea, as I remember. And if e4, knight takes e7. If knight takes e7, knight g5 is compensation. If queen takes e7, d3 is coming. Something like this is theory. Okay, not so obvious, a6 also. Okay, maybe not d3, maybe d4 actually. It's idea. I'm not totally sure, frankly speaking. So, same story like I started with stone side with bronze. Okay, so a6, another line, bishop f1, e4, it's this, d5. Nothing special. It was played already. Rook e1, bishop g4. Of course, castle is possible as well here. Bishop g4 is also natural. It's positions very similar to Petrov defense. h3. White has no any advantage. Rook d3. Okay, rook takes d5, rook d8, and white hardly can save extra pawn. Okay, we can consider also. So first of all, knight e5. Of course, here black totally can play knight e7, for example, and then f6. It's typical position for Petrov defense. Seems me like quite equal. So knight takes e5 and bishop e7 wasn't totally forced. a4, a6, nothing special. So if you match same position with a2 and a7 pawns, okay, more or less the same. So, okay, rook d2, c6, c4, queen a5. So rook d3 played Hare Krishna. Okay, rook takes d5 is possible to consider. Rook d8, takes, queen e2. Yes, but now white has weakness a4 pawn and rook d4, and black has serious contraplay, probably enough for draw. So rook d3, Hare Krishna just want to regroup his pieces, so bishop e3, bishop d4 is his plan, and then probably prepare attacking king's flank with queen g4. Queen b3, no. Okay, bishop d4, it's natural, but probably after bishop d4, bishop c5 was idea of Wenceslas, and Hare Krishna didn't find anything special in this line. But it's possible to try, of course. Bishop c3, but bishop c3, bishop b4 probably possible. If queen b6, my idea was queen d2 with threat bishop a5 somewhere. But okay, bishop b4, it looks like enough for draw. Queen b3, queen b4. Slightly better for white, but king f8. So king, black is ready to give the pawn. King goes to e6. Rook takes d5. Probably it's possible to consider rook b3 alternative. If a5, rook d3, and now after king e7 takes white rook has b5 square probably. There is some chances to win. I don't know if this variation is totally forced. But rook c4 is not possible, of course, because rook takes b4 and bishop c5. So after rook b3, okay, bishop c5 I will take and take. So a5 is more or less forced, and now rook d3. Yes. Bishop c5 also, it's option probably. It gives drawish chances. But okay, so white could try this option at least. Rook c2, yes, okay. Rook d5, takes, rook b2. Okay, maybe just b3. Because if rook b2, I have bishop d4. So, but well, probably it's good chances for draw. But after this, I can take this and rook c3, rook b5. Maybe this is draw, but I don't know. But also after king e7, I have this idea. Just black have bad pawn structure. Maybe nothing terrible because of active pieces, but who knows? After bishop e3. Come back and then bishop d4. So still black need to, at least black need to play accurate because of weakness a5 pawn. So rook takes d5 I don't like. So rook b3 was a reasonable idea in my opinion. So takes, king e7, rook d4, a5. So Now after rook d5, rook c2, black has strong contraplay. I mean strong for draw, of course. Well, so black is still pawn up, but rook endgame, never possible to win according to Tartakover. So, okay, without special reason, Wensley played knight takes e5 and bishop e7, and after this came to quite inferior position, but defended quite well, and probably Hare Krishna didn't utilize all of his chances. So, draw as result. Bakro Grishchuk. Pirc defense. Knight f3. Very quiet line, because white has more ambitious line with bishop e3 and f3 and or f4 knight f3. Castle, castle, a6. Kramnik played a6 against me as well. So white seems like more active, but black has no weakness and wants to exchange. Yes, why not? It's totally possible opening, but of course, if you play in Pirc, you need to have a good preparation against aggressive system. I mean, mainly f4 system or bishop e3 system on move 4. Also, not so easy to play against g3 system because white has clear positional plan. Bishop g7, bishop g2, castle, knight g2 after e5, h3, with idea after knight c6 to play bishop e3, prevent knight g4. Knight g4, rook f8, very strange maneuvers, but probably knight h6 and knight takes f7 was the threat somehow, so Grishchuk decide to defend against e5, h5. Knight e5. D takes e6 is necessary to check, of course. So why not? F takes e6 maybe. White has problem with his bishop on f4. Yes, so many ideas, but in practical game it's not so easy because you need to choose or you need to see something very concrete. And okay, so I don't see. Okay, maybe there is something, but okay, it require good analyze or good calculation. So knight e5, solid f6. Black is prepared to play e5. His bishop will go somewhere. d6, d7, queen c. Promising position for white. Even it's possible to consider just exchange of queens and then knight e4, f3, king f2, king e2. It's more than enough compensation for the pawn, but I don't know if it's a real try to win the game. So yes, rook a1 is possible, same idea. So white can play without it's not necessary for white to afraid queen's exchange because of knight takes e4, but probably Bakro decides that Okay, so there are many questions. For example, here knight c6 is possible line according to theory. If idea to prepare e5 with d5, knight e5, this. Also e6 is possible. So I don't know if knight fd7 was forced at all. So there are many questions. Still dubious position, rook f7, queen e8. Again, white has same ideas to exchange queens and played knight e4, f3, king f2, for example. Very simple. Quite pleasant position for white, but okay, probably black can defend this. Doesn't seem me easy for black, but maybe it's possible to defend somehow. After bishop g5. Yes, we played Pirc quite a lot, so it's totally possible. So queen e4 played, but with queens. Queen d4, rook c4. So black activated his rook, and now it's not so easy to play. Rook e7 in which moment? Here rook e7. Okay, so, but I have several plans. For example, I can even give check. It's the idea to activate my rook. If rook f8, rook d3, and then rook c3, so it's still this, for example, this, something like this, still not easy for black. Next, I will play king f1, king e2. Rook c6 is coming also. Now it's not so easy to play knight e4 because pawn c2 is attacked, and somewhere e4 it's idea for black to attack b2 pawn. So looks like white lost some important tempo. They took the pawn, but okay, black has contraplay because rook is very active. Now white has even material advantage, but knight e4 is not possible because queen takes e4, of course. So queen f7. Idea to defend pawn. If rook takes c2, knight d5 is coming, and then knight e7 or knight f6 check. Trade one of the rooks. It depends of concrete position. In this position, of course, is if rook on d2, it's much more active than rook on e1. So queen f4. Necessary to take. They agreed to draw. Rook endgame. Draw. Okay, so it looks that after opening, white had some advantage, but probably Bakro didn't realize all of his chances and game went to draw. A very solid line, c6 according to theory. If a4, a5 is possible. White has planned also with bishop e3 and then knight d2, f4 and some moment. This. Knight d2, f4 is coming. How about knight e4 after rook d2? Knight e4 here, okay, probably he afraid that rook takes c2. Unclear position, g3. Rapport not yet. g3, okay, this is unclear position, but okay, black can take another pawn, so I don't know what is this, complicated. Or maybe before, but before queen d4 is coming. Queen d4, queen c8 also. Okay, maybe before, so very unclear position, both has his trumps. White has a very good knight, black has active rook, so probably approximately equal position, because after queen d5 there is threat queen takes e4. Also g3 also. Okay, it's complicated. Okay. So what else? Shirov Dominguez and Rapport Fedoseev. So Shirov played this real line. F4 and knight f6 played Dominguez. Another option, interesting option, was game saw against Volokitin. F5, bishop b2, knight f6, after castle, rook f8 played Volokitin and reached a good position after the opening. It was drawing ISO of man tournament. So knight f6 seems like more classic. Okay, it looks like natural moves from both. King b1, knight d4. Complications started. Idea of black is more or less obvious. If white is taken on d5, bishop f5 and attack c2 pawn. So, h3, bishop e6, g4. Very concrete play. So g5 is threat. So knight takes e4. Black avoid fork with pawn of g5. Well, I don't know what is theory of this line. Yes, Hikaru, I analyze it against Yesipenko. Hikaru won good games. So I don't know what is theory and where was novelty in this variation, but if to see this position, it looks like black pieces are better coordinated than white ones. If g5 now, okay, bishop g7, and then knight f5 or bishop f5. So g5 is the weakness of g5 that white has no control on f5 square. So queen d3, queen a5, queen a5. So take on c2, I don't know what about. Not possible because rook takes c2, not possible because bishop takes d4. And knight takes c2, not possible because of queen takes d8 and bishop takes c2. Rook e1 instead of rook f1. So rook e1. Okay, maybe. I'm not good familiar with this. So, and what rook c8? I don't know what is this. Okay, so f5, queen a5, so of course he didn't take on c2 because of material losses. Okay, tactic after knight takes c2, yes, but here, okay, without deep calculation, I don't understand what is advantage of white. So more likely black has advantage because all black pieces are. No, it's not very wild, in my opinion. So black pieces situated very natural and well developed, and white has no good development. So knight g1, rook h1 still not playing. So in first glance, black should be better. f5, but of course necessary to calculate concrete variation. Bishop d5. Knight takes c2 is possible to calculate, but probably doesn't work for some reason. I mean, f takes e6, knight b4, e takes f7, probably. After king g7, even f takes e8, knight is possible. So probably this is too much for black. So bishop d5, natural reaction. So he's not planning to sacrifice anything. He wants just coordinate pieces and attack c2. Rook h2, white defended, but knight b5. So black has another target to attack, c3 and h3 squares. Queen takes b7 looks like very, very optimistic move. Much more natural looks knight e2 or knight f3, at least to do something with his knight, because queen on a4 looks like in good blockaded position. So in my opinion, white should do knight e2 or knight f3 logical moves to do something with his knight. So queen takes b7 looks like not wise decision. Knight d6. And now somewhere knight c4 is also idea. If b takes c4 or b8. Queen a6 was engine move. In which moment queen a6? Where queen a6? Ah, here queen a6. Queen f2 instead of queen d1. But you mean queen a6 here was engine move, right? Okay, maybe. But what is this? Ah, if rook f2, knight takes c2. If this rook, probably this is possible. Okay, not so clear, thanks. And then rook f6 is coming. Or rook takes f7, depends what is. Okay, maybe not knight takes c2, maybe something else. Or maybe queen a6 not in this moment. Okay, so knight b5. Queen f2 instead of queen d1. Queen f2. Okay, maybe it's possible, but black has many ideas. So if e3, queen h4, as I understand. But what is this? Well, for example, we can consider this. Bishop takes, well, bishop takes d4 here. Before f5, okay, bishop takes d4 looks like totally anti-positional because of all dark squares are very weak. So bishop takes d4 looks like hardly good solution. So okay, queen f2 a3, queen g7. So if takes, if f6, king h8. This queen h6 and queen takes e3 is possible also. This is maybe good for white, although even now after knight b5 it's not so clear how to play. Knight c3 is coming, or knight a3, knight e2 not possible. So it's unclear. Okay, maybe after queen f2 black has other options, of course. Okay, position, I agree, position still complicated. I don't know if knight d6 is the best, maybe possible to consider something like rook c7. Knight ge2 instead of bishop g2. Here knight ge2. Yes, looks like logical. Maybe bishop g4 is idea of black. Quite complicated, but But it looks like black has serious contraplay here, it looks like. Knight d4, bishop takes d1, yes. I don't see anything special for white. Okay, it's very sharp game. Okay, so probably queen f2 was strongest. So queen d1, knight b5, c4. So now white has big problem with his king. Bishop g7 is coming. Okay, so Dominguez won. Okay, I don't know how correct was everything this, but anyway, Dominguez won a good game. So last for today will be game between Rapport and Fedoseev. b6 line. At the moment, more popular line is d5. After c takes d5, knight e4 is coming, as in famous game between Carlsen and Kramnik. If e3, b6. If knight f3, d takes c4, queen takes c4, b6 is very popular line. And now Kasparov played h4 in several games. So b6 all the line. So bishop g5, bishop b7, knight h3. It's also theoretical line. Other moves here, it's e3 or f3. If f3, the main theory is h6, bishop h4, d5. After c takes d5, e takes d5, e3, rook e8. Black has contraplay if immediately e3, knight bd7, c takes d5. And now knight takes d5 is correct, bishop takes d8, knight takes c3. Black has sufficient contraplay in this position. Because e takes d5 not so strong. After e takes d5, white has idea bishop d3, rook e8, knight e2. And after rook takes e3, bishop takes f6. And bishop h7 coming. If black is not taken on e3, playing, for example, c5, white has time to play bishop f2, and this type of position is more pleasant for white. Good example is game between Belyavsky and Vaganyan. Belyavsky won very instructive game. So e3, it's another theory. After e3, d6, knight e2, knight d7, and now queen d3 is possible, queen c2 is possible. So a lot of theory. Of course, f3 theory as well. Important, not hurry with h6, because in some variation, black has idea to take with rook, with attack bishop on g5. Now d takes c5, rook takes c5. It's important to have this tempo. So usually in this line, black is not hurry with h6. But okay, so knight h3, h6, bishop h4, d6. d6 is not only move, of course. d5 it's possible to play. Of course, necessary to check something like this. If this queen takes c7, I don't know if it's good for white or not. For example, queen takes d4 is possible. This. After rook d1, black at least has draw. It's perpetual check. Probably they have something more I don't know. If white playing something else, black has typical contraplay with g5, knight e4 in some variation. For example, after f3, g5, knight e4, then d takes c4, sharp position. So d5 is more concrete. Try to play. Somewhere black has also idea to push c5 and after d takes c5, d4, something like this. So black has choice after knight h3. Yes, I'm doing private lesson. Not so often, but yes, I'm doing. So d6, it's a little bit passive, and now white has planned to build center, f3 and e4. And this exactly is doing Richard. So knight h3, it's old theory. I remember it was some games by Lev Psachis with black after knight h3. So Psachis played d5 and reached good position. Also, I remember this idea, something like this. If, for example, f3, something like c5, if d takes c5, g5, and d4, and something like this. Rook e8 with very strong compensation. So I have seen probably Psachis was played this with black, but I'm not totally sure. But I have seen such idea at least. So d6 passive move, probably Fedoseev wasn't well prepared, I don't know. f3, very standard reaction, knight bd7, e4, c5, knight f2. Okay, so also it's possible to play c5 to provoke this structure. And then try to play rook a6, a5, rook a6, d6, knight bd7. It's standard plan for black. For example, f3, a5. Now if e4, probably even knight takes e4 is possible, although I'm not sure it's necessary to check if this is really strong, because black has some problem with knight, maybe bishop c7 even possible if knight a4, b3, I don't know. But so sometimes knight takes e4 doesn't work. But I just want to explain the standard plan for black in such type of position, something like this, d6, if rook d1, rook a6 to defend. And now after bishop e2, knight e4 is very strong. Of course, this is just an illustration. This line is how to contact? Okay, you can contact to my chess school on Facebook. So, Vasily Ivanchuk Chess School in Facebook I have. So this is just illustration. I mean, for this structure c5, dc, bc, a5 and rook a6 and d6 is quite typical plan. But so in this game c5. So again, knight takes e4 doesn't work because after this bishop h4 and black just losing. Okay, bishop c7 is possible as well now, but even after bishop h4, black just losing his knight after knight a4, b3, so black cannot save his knight. Sometimes, although there is this kind of compensation, but probably not here. Okay, so c5, knight f2, again knight takes e4 doesn't work, so rook e8, d takes c5 now. Knight takes c5. I don't know if this is the best choice. More natural looks b takes c5 with idea queen b6, but and somewhere to prepare d5. This looks at least more natural. So knight takes c5 took Fedoseev, bishop f6, b4. And this endgame looks more pleasant for white because Bishop on b7 is passive and d6 pawn is weak somehow. Well, okay, it's not obvious at all because black has contraplay against c4 pawn, so they can consider, for example, knight d7. If rook d1, rook c8, rook takes d6, knight e5. If rook d4, rook d8 is possible, or bishop a6 to provoke b5. So black has some compensation, probably enough for equality. Knight b3, rook d1, a5. So Fedoseev has totally different plan. So he wants to utilize a line. But white has good defensive resources. Rook e8. Black has alternatives. Rook e4, maybe it's possible. Very logical move. Immediately attack the pawn. If b5, black can knight a5, right? Something like this. Rook b1 is possible, but knight d4 is just... Rook takes b4, I see that losing the piece knight d3, but knight d4, knight c2 is threat. Knight a1, okay, knight e1, maybe it's too much. So knight d4 is more solid with idea, for example, this knight c6, b5, knight e5 to take pawn back somehow and equalize the game. So black has reasonable contraplay, it looks like, at least. But he played another rook e8, bishop e2, knight c1. Again, knight d4 looks like a solid move and totally enough for equality. It looks like black has nothing to worry about. But knight c1 he played. Knight g4. So now it's not less clear because black is playing without bishop. Bishop on b7 is very passive, but I don't know what is this. It's very complicated position. Maybe king g7 it's possible, simply play. So why not? King f2 probably. Rook a2. Rook a2, rook takes c1. So king f2 is already threat after knight g4. So knight g4 is not only it's not only attack of these pawns, but also idea king f2 to prepare and attack black knight. So because of this, so probably knight c1 was not good idea. So knight d4 looks strong because now king f2 is threat. Black should hurry. So he played this. Now white has two pawns up, and although they losing the piece, but knight on f6 very strong. So if king g7, white can try to defend his bishop with knight h5 and then knight g3 or knight f4. I don't know how clear this position is. Also king f8 played and king f2. So white has no choice. Knight d3 check instead of rook a2. Knight d3 check. Okay, probably not a big problem for white. King d2 is coming. And all is protected. In what language my courses? Okay, I'm doing courses in Russian, Ukrainian language, Spanish, English. I think it will be enough. So knight d3 doesn't bring anything good. So this, knight f6, king f8, king f2. So what we have? First of all, I want to calculate pawns. So white has two pawns against piece, and Very strong knight on f6, very unpleasant pin. I mean, knight on c1 is on the pin, and very bad bishop on on b7. So it looks like white at least not walls here. Rook c2, king h4. King h4, it's probably not attacking move, it's more prophylactic move. So idea to avoid knight e2 check. But now king g7, I don't know why. So more natural looks rook takes c4, by the way. I don't know why Fedoseev didn't play rook takes c4. So why not take such a tasty pawn? Okay, maybe king h5. It's hard to understand something in such a wild position. Maybe king h5 was idea, but okay, it's very messy. Yes, it's very creative play, not only by Rapport. Fedoseev played also in very creative style. So probably king h5 was planned, but I don't know what is this. So king g7, knight h5. King g6, rook d8. Zurich 53 book about Bronstein. Okay, so very interesting book, but okay, there are many good ideas in general, but analyze of games okay can be improved in my opinion. So king h5. Yes, I see e5 is threat, but is it so dangerous for black? I don't know. For example, king g7. If e5, okay, now after rook d8, I have rook a8, so probably I can do something. Unfortunately, pawn on h2, I have no idea. Knight d3 and knight e2 and knight g3 mate. Knight e2, knight f4 is not the mate. Even not perpetual check. But for example, I can consider this if rook d8, rook a8, although another rook d8, so another rook on d1 probably. Strong mating threats probably. Probably this is really dangerous for black. Okay, not obvious for me because knight e2 it's possible. This knight f4 check, for example. Now black is winning probably because knight d5 check is coming and bishop takes e8. Okay, this line is not forced, so probably here white has something better. Maybe b5 is possible. Maybe black has in this position bishop d5. Totally prevent idea with rook d8. What is this? It's I don't know. Maybe even black is better. Catalan, okay, many players has good game Catalan. During last time, surely Dubov and Magnus are the biggest experts in Catalan. So it's very unclear. So to understand this, it requires very deep analysis. Ulf Andersson, Zoltan Ribley as well. So there are many good examples. Gena Sosonko. Yes, Boris Avrov book, I agree. I like this book very much. So king g7 he played, king g6 and rook d8. Yes, now decisive attack is started. So Rook g8, knight f6 is mate. So bishop takes e4 only move and g4. Brilliant play. So rook g8, knight f6 is mating threat. So black should give back his piece, and white has winning position because of total very bad position of black king. Also important that after f5 white has rook d7, and black has no idea to defend against rook g7. So king h7. And even material advantage white has, so game is over. Okay, so very nice victory by Richard Rapport. Congratulations to Richard. Okay, it wasn't so clear. I have feelings that black had many moments where they have at least not worse position, but this is a game. Everybody are making mistakes, so in irrational tactic fight, Richard Rapport outplayed Vladimir Fedoseev. So for today is all. Thanks for your attention. Good night. See you again. Bye.